Welcome to an overview for how to create and use Sage Intacct platform triggers. In this series specifically, we'll be diving into what a trigger is, how to create them, and what are the differences between using triggers and other things like smart events and smart rules. Overall, triggers are a little bit more techy, but can be fired more real time. And they don't rely necessarily on API calls, so you can keep your API transactions down if you're running into too many API transactions into the system. So what we're going to do is we'll take a look at an example of how to use a trigger, and we'll kind of just talk about a little bit about what we're going to be going through in this refinement series. Let's take a look. So going into Sage Intacct, we're going to find triggers. They're a little bit more hidden. You're not going to find them in platform services here. Well, you can get to them right here once they're activated, but notice you can't hit the plus button here. So you can just see existing triggers. We're going to go in and we're going to show you where to go and set those triggers up. They're going to be inside your objects. And for example, let's do this. Let me go ahead and duplicate this screen for a second. And let's just say in this scenario, we have an employee, and in our GC entity, we have multiple locations. So when we set up a new employee in the system, we want it to base the department for that employee depending on what locations they're in. So you'll notice here, for example, the general construction company, Timberline General Construction, has 4 locations. And let's say one of them is commercial, Dallas, and the other 3 are the same departments of service. So what we can have is a trigger set up that whenever one of these locations is used, it can trigger a department to fill right in the system without an API call. So we're going to do that in this series and show you how to do stuff like that. We're going to go into the objects here. So for example, I'm going to scroll down into here into the employee object. And there's a bunch of different areas in the system, and we're going to show you where to look. But if I scroll down far enough, there's going to be an area for triggers. And in here, you'll see triggers, and you can create a new one. And I already have one set up in here. We're going to show you how to name your trigger. And if we go in there and take a quick look, I'm going to click Edit. And you'll notice it's not deployed yet, but you can base triggers on before create, before update. So before it saves, it can trigger. And there's different types of triggers, and we're going to go into the different types. You can do validation triggers. You can do update triggers, which this one is. You can do API calls, emails, anything you can do in a smart event, smart rule, you can do in here as well. So basically we have a trigger already set up, and it's going to be anything new before create is going to be on the employee record. But on the update, if somebody goes in and edits the employee, we're going to be able to say, well, just trigger it if the location changed. Let's say they changed locations. They went to work for a different location in the system. We can have the department set up then too. This is going to be based on the employee, and the field that we want to change is the department record. And we're going to show you how to find where that field is. And then down in here, we're going to create our condition that's going to trigger it and with the results. So basically, we're going to go through how to create these formulas. And so basically, this is saying if it's equal to GC Dallas, use department 4. If not, use department 2. So there's a setup there. And at that point, the only thing we really need to do is we're going to deploy that trigger. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and save that. And now we have a trigger that's ready to go. And you'll see here, for example, I'm going to get out and go back in again. And let's go into Dennis here. And let's go into Dennis and let's give him one of these locations. So if you remember, we said if it's Dallas, it's going to be commercial. Otherwise, it's going to be service. So we can do a couple tests here. Let's go Dallas, and we'll click Save. And what you'll notice is there's no delay. If you're doing smart events, if you've been in any of those series, there's a delay in the API call. There's a pending log. But if I go right back in, it's usually a real-time update. You'll see with a trigger right there, boom, company 11 is in the system instantly. And vice versa, if I come in and change this. So what we did here is we said just updated on the one location. So if I come in here and just change the description of the title, for example, and hit save and change the department, nothing's going to trigger there. So it's going to keep it as the department. And this is all based on how you want to set this type of stuff up. But if I change the location, an existing record. Let's make them part of Houston now. Click save. It's going to trigger. And it's going to go and add the correct department. And now it's going to grab service. So that's a little quick look into setting up triggers. Thank you.